1-800-APPROVE.
Hi. They do not have a better pizza. They do not have better ingredients.
The battle between the pizzas rages on. Plus, .com fever. It's a sure bet that Wall Street's money is riding on the internet.
A lot of it's become a game, and a lot of it's become a trading game.
But is the electronic superhighway really paved with riches? CNN and Fortune. Tonight, 10, 9 Central on CNN.
I'm Smokey Robinson, and I'm watching you, CNN.
All right, Cheryl, you had a question for our guest. Go ahead.
My question is for the women that we're talking to is what inspired you to get into politics?
Senator?
That's a great question. I was a young woman, and I loved Texas very much, and I was asked to run, and I started thinking about Texas and what I'd like to do for it, and I wanted to have better schools. I wanted to have fiscal responsibility so that Texas would stay strong. I wanted to have mass transit systems, which we didn't have in Texas at the time. So I had some causes, and I decided to do it, and I think it's important that all of you in the audience go for it when you decide you want to do something.
Congresswoman?
It is a wonderful question, and I like to view myself as a problem solver, which you can be as well. Take people's problems and solve it, and I thought getting involved in the political process was the way to help bring about equal rights and civil rights. And particularly, someone in high school told me no, that I could only run for the secretary position, not the vice president position, and so I just had to do it to solve that problem.
Well, we thank you both so much for being with us today. Do appreciate your time and your insight on this. We have to run. And don't forget to join Greta and Roger on Burden of Proof coming up in just a half an hour. They'll be talking about the Susan McDougal trial. We'll see you tomorrow.
10 personalities from 25 years of People magazine. It all begins with Harrison Ford. A special presentation of Newsstand People Profiles, March 23rd on CNN.
The 40th Annual RV Show. It runs March 10th through 14th at the Expo Center and leads to almost everything you'd love to see and do. Choose from a $25 million selection of new 1999 models or quality pre-owned RVs of your dreams and your means. Enjoy AAA-sponsored RV lifestyle seminars throughout the day, plus Country Music TV's Touring Media Center, courtesy of your hometown dealers. The Portland Metro RV Show. Just imagine where it might lead.
From television's boldest risk-taker, Showtime, comes Hollywood's biggest hits of the year. As Good as It Gets, starring Academy Award winner Jack Nicholson. Godzilla. The Man in the Iron Mask.
Get a free activation when you sign up for digital cable and Showtime. Call 1-800-CALL-TCI to order.
Jennifer loves art museums and rollerblading. Mr. Qualls, investment tips and golf. Ada Meyerson lives for gardening and classic films. Just like you, they like what they like. Fortunately, that's where TCI Digital Cable comes in. Entire channels devoted to what interests you most. Free digital activation. Act now. Call toll-free 1-888-TCI-CHOICE. Everyone has different tastes. TCI Digital Cable satisfies.
There's a festival held in McMinnville each year that reminds me of my world travels. The landscape, the foods, the art, the music, and the wines. The wines spark memories of sidewalk cafes in Paris and in Switzerland. But there's something special about this festival that world travel cannot equal. It gives me a feeling I love, a feeling of being at home.
Line News Hour with Lou Dobbs, weeknight 6:30 Eastern on CNN.
At the CNN Weather Center, I'm Flip Spice, and we're looking at a weather map that is much calmer than what we were seeing 24 hours ago. The storm that produced the very heavy snowfall from the Midwest through the Middle Atlantic states is now moving out into the Atlantic. Right here, you can clearly see that. Still a little bit of flurry activity lingers on shore. Heavier snowfall today here in the northern plain states, but at this hour, even that is diminishing. We're turning our attention down here to South Texas, parts of Louisiana. Same cold front that moved offshore with this storm snakes back along the Gulf Coast and is appearing as a warm front, bringing some moisture from the south. We might see some thunderstorms there. There is another storm moving in through California. It appears to be a rather weak storm at this time. Take a look at this regional radar from the mid-Atlantic. You can see the widespread flurry activity. It's not much more than that at this hour. As you look at it on the national view, you'll see this area that we have been looking at in close-up here. Not much at all showing up. The storm, for the most part, is well offshore. Here's the snow in the plain states that I was telling you about. Take a look at all of it on our forecast weather map for tomorrow morning. That area of snowfall in the northern plain states diminishes, but here's that front that I spoke of. See, that's the storm moving offshore. And as I put this in motion, you can see how this warm front here pulls the moisture up from the Gulf. The storm comes in from California. It all comes together, and I think we're going to end up with another nasty storm system that could move through the Midwest again with some heavy snowfall. Take a quick look at a few specific forecasts for cities across North America.
Surging oil stocks push the blue chips into record territory. I'm Valerie Morris at the CNN Financial News Desk in New York. Oil prices rose on word that major oil exporters could be near an agreement on deeper production cuts. That also gave oil stocks a lift. Exxon and Chevron, both Dow components, gaining more than $3. And now, as the closing bell rings at the New York Stock Exchange and the final trades are tallied, the Dow Industrials are up 73 points at 97.67. But a quiet day for the NASDAQ Composite, the NASDAQ gaining just 12 points. In the bond market, the 30-year Treasury is up 14/32 of a point in price, yielding 5.56%.
This is CNN.
Maybe you're sick of overbooked, overdue flights, lost luggage, long lines, and excuses. Maybe it's finally time to fight back.
Now, what would I, as a woman, offer our country? I'm not a politician, and frankly, I think that's a plus today.
She says she's not a politician, but she says she's ready to run the country. And you thought the family wagon went out with leisure suits and bell-bottoms? Well, it's coming back into style in a big way. It is 4 p.m. on the East Coast, 1 o'clock in the West, Wednesday, March 10th, and from CNN Center in Atlanta, this is CNN Today. Hello, I'm Donna Kelly, filling in for Lou Waters and Natalie Allen. Airline agony is our top story. Hours spent trapped in a packed plane on the tarmac. Lost luggage, lost time, lost patience. If you've suffered any of these nightmares while you're traveling, you're certainly not alone. A House committee today is hearing plenty of bad tales as it considers a proposed passenger Bill of Rights. The story from CNN's Gina London.
In January, when thousands of Detroit passengers were stuck on planes for several hours, it was blamed on a forceful snowstorm. But it also may have been the straw that broke the camel's back.
At about the 5th hour on the plane, the tanks from the lavatories began to overflow, making them unusable.
Today, a House subcommittee held hearings on new legislation known as the Passenger's Bill of Rights.
You never hear of a restaurant closing its doors and not letting any of its customers out for 8 or 9 hours because the weather was too bad.
The bill would require airlines to better explain their policies on cancellations and delays. 2 words you may know all too well if you're a frequent flyer. The legislation also calls for the airlines to pay passengers stranded in a plane on a runway for more than 2 hours at least twice what they paid for their tickets. The Clinton administration is also lending a hand, proposing its own measure to hold carriers more accountable.
We're proposing to take the guesswork out of flying by requiring airlines to fully disclose to the public their plans for service and complaints, so that passengers know their rights from the very beginning.
Airline industry officials get their turn to testify at a hearing next week. They're warning, however, that too much government intervention could result in higher ticket prices. Gina London, CNN, Washington.
The Federal Aviation Administration is not naming names, but sources say that the agency has found serious security breaches at several major U.S. airports. They say federal agents were able to pass easily through security doors, into secure areas, and even onto empty airplanes. A report to Congress is expected to label security technology as reliable, but find shortcomings in the people who use it. The big winter storm that caused flight delays and cancellations in much of the Midwest and Middle Atlantic states has moved out to sea. Among the hardest hit areas, Chicago and its busy O'Hare International Airport. Throughout the region, there were other problems as well: traffic tie-ups, school closings, and power outages. More than half a foot of snow fell on Washington, bringing much of the capital city to a standstill. Some suburban areas got right at a foot of snow. Elizabeth Dole, one step closer to a full-fledged presidential run. Dole chose Iowa as today's setting to announce that she has formed an exploratory committee for the 2000 GOP presidential nomination. As she did at the 1996 Republican National Convention, the former cabinet member and Red Cross president chose the floor over the lectern to announce her plans. She said she's not a politician, which in her words may be a plus.
I think that Americans yearn to make our country a better place. I think that's why they're turning out in great, great numbers. And I know a lot about running in a presidential campaign. I've been involved in a number of them. And you have to have passion for what you believe can make a difference for this country, because it's an arduous undertaking. You have to believe in something so much that you're willing to go through an arduous process in order to make it happen.
The White House is reportedly troubled by what officials call enormously porous nuclear labs. A White House source tells CNN that an administration review sparked by suspected Chinese espionage linked to the Los Alamos National Laboratory finds a lot of other countries had obtained sensitive nuclear information from labs as well. The official did not believe, however, that any of these lapses reached the magnitude of the sharing of data that allegedly helped the Chinese to develop smaller nuclear warheads. The comments come as President Clinton continues a 4-day tour through hurricane-ravaged Central America. During a speech to El Salvador's Legislative Assembly, the president defended America's decision to resume deportations of illegal immigrants now that the immediate crisis from Hurricane Mitch is over. The Clinton administration is pressing Congress not to hold a planned debate on deploying U.S. troops to Kosovo. The debate is scheduled to get underway tomorrow in the House, but Secretary of State Madeleine Albright says it's the wrong thing to do. Secretary Albright appeared today before a congressional committee. She says a vote on the issue could cause problems for negotiators who are trying to get Yugoslavia's leaders and ethnic Albanians in Kosovo to sign a peace agreement.
We will not make a decision on sending U.S. troops until we have an agreement in hand and can evaluate whether it meets the condition President Clinton outlined. A congressional debate now, I can assure you, would complicate our efforts to get the Serbs and the Kosovar Albanians on board.
The Clinton administration plans to deploy about 4,000 troops to Kosovo as part of a NATO peacekeeping force if a peace agreement is reached. The proposed peacekeeping force remains a major sticking point in the Kosovo peace process. U.S. envoy Richard Holbrooke is holding talks today in Belgrade with Yugoslav President Slobodan Milosevic. So far, the Serb leader is standing firm in his opposition to peacekeeping force. NATO threatens to use airstrikes to stop the bloodshed in Kosovo if a peace plan is not approved. I want to let you know that U.S. Special Envoy Richard Holbrooke will be a guest on Worldview to talk about progress in Kosovo. Worldview airs at 6 p.m. Eastern, which is 3 Pacific. Opening statements have begun in the trial of Whitewater figure Susan McDougal. A federal jury was seated today in Little Rock, Arkansas. Mrs. McDougal was not in the courtroom for jury selection, but she showed up later to hear opening statements. This is the latest battle in her long-running legal war with independent counsel Ken Starr. Mrs. McDougal is charged with 2 counts of criminal contempt and 1 count of obstructing justice for refusing to testify before Starr's Whitewater grand jury in 1996 and 98. Coming up on CNN today, he's won 2 championships as manager of the Yankees, but today Joe Torre faces his biggest challenge ever. And the possibility of losing their 212 area code has many New Yorkers in a real uproar.
Oh, come on, you can't stay another day? There he is. wish I could. I'm just so crazed with the new job. I don't have time to figure out my finances.
We went through the same thing when we got this house. And with the new baby coming, we needed help.
So what'd you guys do?
Called T. Rowe Price.
Really?
Yeah, it was great. It really helped simplify things. Give them a call.
Okay, I will.
What a Big Brother's for, right? Come on, get out of there, you. Bye-bye. Bye. All right.
T. Rowe Price, helping people invest with confidence for over 60 years.
A month ago, my son Charlie drew a family portrait. I was the one on the couch. That's when I started taking Ginsana, a natural supplement. Ginsana every day gives me energy that lasts. Clinical proof says the pure ginseng in Ginsana helps my body use oxygen better to keep my natural energy going. All I know is I can feel it.
Find the energy. Feel your Ginsana.
You get lost?
Never! And to get the most out of your workout, try new Ginsana Sport.
Farming, it's America's heritage, but every week over 500 family farmers go out of business, losing their land and their livelihood. Here's a way you can help. Just dial 1010-220 when you make a long-distance call. All calls up to 20 minutes are only 99 cents. And 1010-220 will make a donation to Farm Aid every time you use it. So dial 1010-220 and you'll get up to 20 minutes for only 99 cents. And you'll lend a helping hand to some hard-working American farmers.
Jamaica touch you. Oh, now let's get together and feel alright. Say now come to Jamaica.
Call your travel agent or 1-800-JAMAICA.
Tonight on Larry King Live, he successfully defended the president against articles of impeachment. Former White House Special Counsel Greg Craig will be our guest and take your calls. Tonight, 9 Eastern on CNN.
I'm watching you, CNN.
Welcome back to CNN Today. New York Yankees manager Joe Torre is temporarily leaving the team to undergo treatment for prostate cancer. Torre says he's feeling fine and is looking forward to taking care of the problem and getting back to work. His players are also praying for a quick recovery.
I love that man. You know, I've only known him and been around him for a year, but he's had a tremendous impact on my life as a person, not only as a baseball player. He's a great man to play for and a great person off the field as well. So I consider him very dear to me, and you know, you got to hope and pray that he's going to come through this, and you know, we all know he's a competitor and a fighter and things like that. So hopefully he'll conquer this, and everything will be okay.
The announcement comes on the same day that Yankee outfielder Darryl Strawberry returned to the team following a bout with colon cancer, and 2 days after Yankee legend Joe DiMaggio died following lung cancer surgery. If you're a heart patient, you may be taking an aspirin every day, and you may also be on blood pressure medicine. Now, alone, the medications are fine, but a leading heart researcher believes that taking them together could put you at real risk. CNN's Rhonda Rowland has details from the American College of Cardiology conference in New Orleans.
Disc jockey Michael Stanley suffered a heart attack over the holidays. Like most heart patients, his doctors prescribed an aspirin a day to help prevent a second attack. To control his high blood pressure, Stanley was also put on an ACE inhibitor, the most commonly prescribed class of drugs for hypertension. ACE inhibitors are also used in patients with heart failure. But when Stanley was referred to Cleveland Clinic cardiologist Dr. Eric Topol, he was told the combination of aspirin and ACE inhibitors may increase the risk of death.
We have two large trial databases where we've seen either a 2.5 to 3-fold increase in the death rate for aspirin and an ACE inhibitor combination as compared to aspirin alone.
Dr. Topol believes the aspirin may be canceling out the beneficial effects of the ACE inhibitor. He examined data from the largest study ever of heart attack patients and saw a 2.5-fold increase in heart deaths in those patients who were taking both aspirin and an ACE inhibitor.
We said, well, this might be a fluke. We need to look at another trial database to verify this very worrisome finding. And we did that.
Dr. Topol looked at a different group of patients and saw a 3-fold increase in deaths in patients who took the combination. But other doctors say it's premature for patients taking these drugs to panic. Dr. Bertram Pitt, a cardiologist at the University of Michigan, says this is not the time to pull patients off these drugs.
We don't have any clear evidence that there's a bad effect. There are this conflicting data, and I think patients should rely upon the best advice of their doctor.
An expert on ACE inhibitors with the U.S. Food and Drug Administration told CNN there has been a lot of informed speculation about the possibility that aspirin may reduce the efficiency of ACE inhibitors. We really do need a large-scale, properly randomized trial to resolve this issue. And the director of clinical research for Merck, maker of the top-selling ACE inhibitor Vasotac, says the previous research has been inconclusive. But Dr. Topol is not waiting. He took patient Michael Stanley off the aspirin-ACE inhibitor combination and put him on alternative medications. Again, Dr. Topol says his findings should not alarm patients. There's no need to immediately stop taking aspirin and ACE inhibitors. He says patients should discuss the question with their doctors. Rhonda Rowland, CNN, New Orleans.
Hubble's in trouble, and NASA's planning an emergency repair mission. The problem, the billion-dollar spacecraft's gyroscopes, which stabilize the craft and keep it in proper orbit, are failing. Today, NASA decided to schedule a rapid response mission, likely in October, to repair the equipment. It would be the third servicing mission to the Hubble Space Telescope since it was deployed in April of 1990. We're coming up to 15 minutes after the hour. Rhonda Schaffler has been watching the market all day, and let's check and see what it did at the end of the day. Rhonda?
Hi there, Donna. Stocks rocketing higher at the close today, despite a rather lackluster session in the morning. Technology stocks took a breather after the recent run-up they've had, but gains in big blue chips were enough to send the Dow Industrials into uncharted territory. The Dow gained 79 points to close at 97.72. That is a record high, and Dow 10,000 may not be far off.
I believe that we're probably going to go a bit higher, around 10,003, 10,005. That's the good news. The bad news is, of course, not all stocks are participating. And I suspect that sometime in the latter part of April, we will probably see a 12 to 15% correction in some of these large cap stocks, especially the Dow stocks.
The Nasdaq's gains were more modest. Nasdaq up just 13 points. Bond prices were lower. The 30-year Treasury bond sunk more than a half point in price. The yield moved back up to 5.55%. Oil prices spiked higher on word that the major oil-producing nations had decided to cut output, and more caps on production could be coming. Representatives from several countries, including members of OPEC, meet tomorrow in Amsterdam. Today, light sweet crude jumped 84 cents in New York trading to $14.69 a barrel. As a result, shares in oil companies also rose. Exxon gained 3 1/4. Mobil was up more than 3. Texaco jumped more than 4. Atlantic Richfield was up 2 5/8. Daimler Chrysler has broken off talks aimed at taking a stake in Nissan Motor. Daimler Chrysler said months of talks had been more difficult than first expected. Nissan is burdened by a great deal of debt, possibly as much as $37 billion worth. Meanwhile, the French automaker Renault says its talks with Nissan will continue. For a complete wrap-up of the day's financial news, be sure to watch the Moneyline News Hour with Lou Dobbs. That's at 6:30 and 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time on CNN. And that is financial news for now. CNN Today will continue in a moment.
Stock Market Update is brought to you by Sun Microsystems. Look into network computing from Sun.
Mortgage interest rates have been slashed to some of their lowest levels ever. The time to refinance is right now. Just call Ditech Funding at 1-800-71-FIX. Today's low 30-year fixed rate is just 6 7/8%, APR 7.133%. There are no points, no deposits, and rates will never go down to 0. So what are you waiting for?
It's smart financing from Ditech Funding.
Refinance now to a low 30-year fixed rate of just 6 7/8% with 0 points. Call 1-800-71-FIX.
I became interested in working in
the brokerage industry when I was very young. I went to Harvard. I majored in economics. We had a last trade at 59 and 7/16. That was down 4 and 3/16 on the day. Throughout my life, I've had to work hard and had to focus to get where I am, and I'm going to bring that ethic to my job here at Schwab. Charles Schwab, Adam, 122998. Anytime you have a company that's been as successful as Schwab, obviously the employees are driving that, and I hope that I benefit Schwab in their growth and in their success, and I will.
This is an extraordinary little device, this is. It places your data on a seamless global network, the only global network owned by a single company. Suddenly Paris, London, Brussels, Dusseldorf are 60 milliseconds away. 60 milliseconds. Now, don't you wish you could travel like that? Be careful what you wish for. OnNet from MCI WorldCom.
Tonight on National Geographic Explorer. Off the coast of California lie the Channel Islands. Here, the once quiet rhythms of life clash with the ferocity of El Nino. And on the winds of change comes a tempest from the deep, laying claim to both plant and animal life while bearing witness to the resilience of Mother Nature. Tempest from the deep. National Geographic Explorer, tonight, 8:05 Eastern, only on the Superstation.
Sooner or later, it seems that everything comes back into style. Bell-bottoms and platform shoes made a comeback, and as CNN's Ed Garston tells us, the family station wagon is also on the way back.
Why, look what's coming down that street.
Was nothing on the road as distinctive as that old wagon, clad in plastic, that could never be mistaken for real wood? Well, for years, the station wagon was the way families got around. That is, until 1984, when a new bully took over its territory. Well, minivan just about ran the station wagon off the road for good. But now, look what the auto world's designers have decided is hot again.
Subaru Outback.
On the consumer side, you have a lot of folks that are starting to get tired of their SUVs or may get tired of them in the near future. They're looking for the next new trend.
Some of the most successful wagons are the Subaru Forester and Outback.
A Subaru took basically a tired old station wagon concept. They put four-wheel drive on it, made it a little jazzy, and suddenly became extremely hot vehicles in the marketplace.
GM designers Christoph Rustemus and Jeff Gale conjured up the Nomad, an experimental version of what a wagon of the future might look like, complete with retractable tailgate and remote-controlled rear door.
It's kind of like what you'd get if you put a Blazer and a Corvette in a blender.
Well, the genre may be coming back, but the name sure isn't. The very term station wagon has become as out of date as Nehru jackets and 8-track stereos. Well, in fact, Jim Thornsbury said had it been called a station wagon, he might not have bought his Subaru Legacy.
It would certainly not add to the appeal.
So what are they called, if not station wagons?
You can call them Avants, Tourings, shooting brakes.
What we consider the Nomad as is kind of a new definition of a sport coupe, if you will.
Well, no matter what you call them, they're back.
Station wagons have been out for so long, it's time for them to be in.
You can take a squat on maneuvers in this, baby.
Ed Garston, CNN, Troy, Michigan.
Need some snow tires on a lot of them if you're up in certain areas. Flip, how about some history of snow?
Yes, indeed. They're emphasizing the four-wheel drive aspects. A lot of people needed that over the last couple of days. The bad storm that moved through the Midwest and Middle Atlantic states left these kinds of snowfall amounts. Minnesota, we were looking at very heavy snowfall, as you well know. But in Washington, D.C., 8 to 10 inches of snowfall, and that's more than we had predicted. We were going on the top side, about 5 there. Pittsburgh checked in with about 6 inches of snowfall, diminishes as we go down through Cincinnati and Detroit. So this was a bad one, but it is all but gone now. There's still just a few flurries hanging on the Middle Atlantic states. By tomorrow morning, it's well offshore. As we put this map in motion, we turn our attention to an area down here along the Gulf Coast where this warm front snakes back to the north, pulling moisture from the Gulf. We can see some showers and thunderstorms here. A weak low comes rolling in from California. This may all come together and make for a nasty storm by the weekend. Daytime highs tomorrow will look like this, very similar to what we're seeing today, although it is just a little bit warmer. And that's the latest look at all your weather maps. More weather later. Here's Donna.
Thanks, Flip. In the Middle East, the death sentence of a policeman by a Palestinian court has led to violence. The policeman convicted of killing an officer from another Palestinian security agency was sentenced to death by firing squad. The policeman is a former member of the militant group Hamas. His friends and family were furious over the verdict, and a small protest turned into violent riots. Palestinian security officers opened fire, killing at least 2 protesters. A group of Kurds in northern Iraq took to the streets today to protest the recent arrest of Kurdish separatist leader Abdullah Öcalan. The protesters aimed some of their anger at the United States and its allies. They say that the West has betrayed the Kurdish people and their push for autonomy. And in Tokyo, there were cheers and tears today as students found out whether they passed a tough university entrance exam. The test determines who gets accepted by the prestigious Tokyo University. More than 10,000 students took the test. Only 3,000 made the grade. In New York, a battle is underway for a scarce commodity, the Big Apple's prized 212 area code. With the new code going into effect in a couple of months, businesses demanding the famous code are in an uproar. CNN-FN's Charles Molyneux has our report.
When investment bankers Houlihan Lokey moved into their new office, their new phones posed a big problem. Not the service, but the number. The firm is still in Manhattan, but now instead of the familiar 212, their area code is 917. And for a business looking for recognition, that is an irritant.
When you're sitting here and you tell somebody, you know, what's your phone number, and you say 1917, they just get turned off immediately.
Nationwide, 106 new area codes have been added in the past 4 years to accommodate cell phones, fax machines, and computer modems. But as a numerical symbol for New York City, 212 is one of the country's most recognizable. And marketing consultants say it delivers its own phone message.
One of being in Manhattan, the Big Apple, the big city. One of prestige.
In July, Manhattan will get an additional area code, 646, but local phone provider Bell Atlantic is running out of 212 numbers now. Instead, it's offering 917, an area code usually associated with cell phones.
The choice is, do you want a 212 or a 917? That's one matter. Another matter is, do you want a 917 or the inability to have telephone service? And obviously then the 917 is quite satisfactory.
Brokerage giant Bear Stearns is settling for 917 when it moves into its new headquarters later this year, as is American Lawyer magazine, already in its new digs. American Lawyer representatives say they've got a job to do getting the word out about their new numbers. But Houlihan Lokey is paying hundreds of dollars extra a month to forward each call from its old numbers.
You're getting charged every time somebody calls the number. Some people don't even know we have a 917 number because we felt it was that embarrassing to tell people, so we didn't do it.
Some consultants say the best course may be to accentuate the newness of a new area code and turn it into a plus, although Houlihan Lokey says it's looking into switching local phone companies in an effort to get its 212 area code back. Charles Molyneux, CNN Financial News, New York.
Coming up, a snake charmer and his quest to break a world record.
At Superior Bank, we help homeowners. That's what we do. And we've been busy helping homeowners in all kinds of credit and income situations for over 75 years. Consolidating your high-interest credit card debt, reducing the number of your monthly payments to just one, and getting you the cash you need when you need it. Working with you, simply, easily, and honestly. That's Superior Bank at 1-888-678-7777.
Michael?
Coming.
Hi.
Oh.
Made a little extra.
I guess you heard Barbara was away.
Visiting Katie at college.
Yep.
First year, huh? How's Matt?
Made the dean's list.
Great. I know our Josh is only in 3rd grade, but I don't know how you guys did it. Put him through school and all?
We invested with T. Rowe Price.
Really?
Yeah, and they helped us figure out how much to put away. They've got this college planning kit.
On my way to my mom's anyway.
Hey, thanks.
T. Rowe Price, helping people invest with confidence for over 60 years.
In the crossfire, Senator Fred Thompson on what China's acquisition of nuclear secrets means for U.S. national security. 7:30 Eastern on CNN.
Don't miss one of the hottest youth bands in the Northwest, Blackfire. They'll be performing March 15th and 16th at the Portland Center for Performing Arts, Winningstad Theater. All proceeds to benefit the Susan G. Komen Breast Cancer Foundation. Showtime 7:30 both nights. Tickets available at the Performing Arts box office or by calling Fast Tix at 224-TIXX. Don't miss Blackfire.
At Bank of the West, we've been here in the West for 125 years. And while other banks have been busy building worldwide empires, we've been concentrating on helping people in the West build their homes, their businesses, and their families. Maybe that's why tens of thousands of people have moved to Bank of the West in the past few years. So if you've been looking for a good bank, we'd like you to know there's a good bank out there looking for you.
Clinton attorney Greg Craig on Larry King Live tonight.
A new addition to the CNN family to report to you. Larry King is a new daddy. Larry and his wife Shawn had a little boy last night, Chance Armstrong King. He weighed 7 pounds, 6 ounces, and we're waiting for pictures. A milestone in Middle East relations has been played out on a beauty pageant runway. For the first time, an Israeli Arab woman was named Miss Israel. Tuesday's crowning of 21-year-old Rana Raslan made front-page news in most Israeli newspapers. It was hailed by both sides as a symbol of reconciliation between Jews and Arabs. The new Miss Israel says that they must show the world, in her words, we can live together. Now here's a story that might make your skin crawl. A snake charmer in Malaysia is trying to set a new national record. So far, he has spent more than a month in a room with hundreds of poisonous snakes, all of them king cobras. Man says that he was a little nervous at first, but the snakes got used to him fairly quickly. He says so far he has not been bitten. Not a lot of competition against him, I'm sure, for that record. That's it for this edition of CNN Today. We're glad you could join us. I'm Donna Kelly. Burden of Proof coming up next on CNN.
She wasn't going to lie. They didn't want to hear the truth. She wasn't going to lie. And based upon that, anybody in her situation would have done the same thing.
Today on Burden of Proof, Susan McDougal is being tried for refusing to answer questions during grand jury testimony. In an ironic turn of courtroom events, she'll mount her defense under oath from the witness stand.
This is Burden of Proof with Roger Cossack and Greta Van Susteren.
Hello and welcome to Burden of Proof. A jury of 6 men and 6 women received instructions from a federal judge today in Little Rock. That's the makeup for the panel that will sit on the case against former Whitewater partner Susan McDougal.
McDougal was not in the courtroom for final steps in the jury selection process, but she did arrive for opening statements which began earlier this afternoon. And joining us today from Little Rock is Susan McDougal's brother, Bill Henley.
And here in Washington, Chris Letang, former federal prosecutor Andy Foyce, and Craig Lozier. And in the back, Adnan Iqbal and Wendy Schull. And also joining us from Little Rock is CNN correspondent Bob Franken. Bob, what's been going on in that courtroom today?
Well, of course, both sides in their opening statements are painting the roadmap, the puzzle of how their cases are going to be put together. And the defense attorney, Mark Garagos, told the jurors that Susan McDougal did not answer questions before the grand jury because, quote, she had this resolve that she was not going to be used as a pawn to get the president and first lady. And, of course, that is fundamental to the McDougal defense, that, in fact, she is just being used, that they were trying to force her to testify in a negative way about the president as part of the vendetta, the word we hear so often, by independent counsel Ken Starr. They speak of a phone call that she was supposed to have participated in with her lawyer of the time, Bobby McDaniel. Quoting Garagos again in his opening statement, she was told, you know who we want, you know what we want. Now, when the prosecutors had made their opening statements, they had anticipated that this phone call would come up, and prosecutor Mark Barrett told the jurors, we categorically and vigorously deny that that happened. As a matter of fact, they're going to be calling some of the participants who were here in the independent counsel's office to talk about that phone call. But of course, Barrett did acknowledge that the reason they wanted to talk to Susan McDougal is because she had what they called unique information about James McDougal, her late former husband, and President William Jefferson Clinton, quoting now, and Hillary Rodham Clinton, that the grand jury was entitled to hear. We've moved past opening statements now. The first witness who is testifying is the court reporter who was present at the second grand jury last April when Susan McDougal refused to testify. They're going through the transcript from that court reporter. Later in the day, we expect to hear an audio tape of the parts of the grand jury where Mrs. McDougal, refused to testify. The argument here is the independent counsel saying she was under a lawful order from a judge to testify before the grand jury. That is the simple, basic underpinning of this case. Susan McDougal's argument, she had good legal reasons not to give that testimony. They've just begun. The trial is expected to last several weeks.
Bob, you've talked about the defense, you've talked about the first witness. What about the prosecution, who bears the burden of proof, to coin a good term, bears the burden of proof in this case? How are they going, what did they say in their opening statement as to how they're actually going to attempt to prove their case?
What they're going to do is to start with members of the grand jury who are going to follow the court reporter. They're going to talk about what happened in the grand jury, and of course they'll present documents. They're going to go further, and they're going to talk about what it was they wanted to discuss with Susan McDougal, specifically two checks. One for $27,000 that had come from Madison Guaranty Savings Loan that had been discovered, you'll recall, they said, in a car after a tornado in 1997, although defense pointed out that they actually had that check much earlier. There was then a $5,000 check that we heard of last year that was marked Payoff Clinton. What they're getting at, the prosecutors said, was to try and challenge the sworn testimony of President Clinton that he had never gotten a loan from Madison Guaranty. Now, all of this brings up reminders of how this started. Madison Guaranty was owned by the McDougals. The McDougals were partners with Bill and Hillary Clinton back here in Arkansas in a partnership which became the foundation for this case, which has now spiraled to the extent that it has.
Andy Foyce, let's talk about the defense here. Bob Franken told us that, quote, Mr. Garriga said that Susan McDougal was not going to be used as a pawn to get the president and first lady. Is that a defense? I mean, let's suppose that that she says, I'm not going to testify the way they want me to. Isn't the answer to her, well, just go testify to the truthfully?
As a legal matter, I think that is not a defense. This could be a very simple case. You were required to testify, the grand jury issued you a subpoena, and you refused. Boom, that could be the prosecution case. The only legal defenses from a narrow perspective, in my view, are that's, that's wrong. I didn't, I wasn't requested to come, or I did in fact testify. The why, the motive, is a whole other story. But the prosecution is doing something very interesting here. They're not limiting their case in chief just to those elements, which tells me that there may be something else afoot here.
You bet.
They may be baiting her by opening the door, talking about what they wanted her to testify about, so that then she'll talk about it, and they could try to get the information in this trial.
And is it possible that the prosecutor can overplay his or her hand? Are there some pitfalls, at least at this early stage, in opening statement for a prosecutor?
Oh, yes, absolutely. But I think it also it goes both ways. The defense was also very interesting in that the defense counsel did not say, I was afraid that he wanted me to lie, or I was afraid he was going to prosecute me for perjury. I didn't want to be a pawn in their case. That's much more vague, much more general. In a way, I just didn't want to participate. I didn't want to play. It sounds like the defense is anticipating what the prosecution is after here and is trying to avoid giving it.
Bob, you mentioned that this is a trial that you expect to take several weeks. Why do you expect that? I mean, it seems to me that the prosecution's case is 1 or 2 or 3 witnesses at the most. Why so much time for the defense?
Well, you've been through this before. The independent counsel's way of operating is to methodically, tediously build a case of documentary evidence, crossing every T, dotting every I, and that's why. One other thing, by the way, the defense announced today it will plan to call Susan McDougal as a witness. That's quite a departure from the last trial, the first trial when she wasn't a witness.
All right, speaking of Susan McDougal, defendant Susan McDougal has support in Little Rock from former trial jurors and family members. When we come back, a conversation with her brother, Bill Henley. Stay with us.
right if they only knew. Chaos. So many stores so fast. Stores aren't connected. Nobody's connected. Inventory's a mess. My suppliers are totally in the dark. Help. The AT&T people said that they'd get everyone connected in real time. That'll fix it. Maybe going public isn't so crazy.
Everyone and everything working together in a whole new way.
We're gonna change your mind about coloring your gray with the natural look of Just for Men.
You look so natural, no one can tell with Just for Men. No one can tell with Just for Men.
Just for Men penetrates hair deep inside where natural color begins. Simply apply, and in 5 minutes, rinse. Gray is gone, matched up to the rest of your hair.
You look so natural, no one can tell with Just for Men.
Mortgage interest rates have been slashed to some of their lowest levels ever. The time to refinance is right now. Just call Ditech Funding at 1-800-71-FIX. Today's low 30-year fixed rate is just 6 7/8%, APR 7.133%. There are no points, no deposits, and rates will never go down to zero. So what are you waiting for?
It's smart financing from Ditech Funding.
Refinance now to a low 30-year fixed rate of just 6 7/8% with 0 points. Call 1-800-71-FIX.
So you finally made it. You got in when they were all getting out, you held when they sold, and you sold when they held. So what are you going to do now? Well, keep believing you know something they don't. Which means you should head to your Mitsubishi retailer and take advantage of their great lease deal on the luxurious new 99 Diamante. Right now, you can lease it for just $319 a month for 42 months. That's a 3.5-liter V6 luxury car with all the amenities for just $319 a month. Hurry, you don't have much time.
This Saturday night at a special sneak preview, meet an ordinary guy, Mad, who agreed to put his life on TV.
Hey, kiss him!
24 hours a day.
I love this show, bro.
Ed TV, a Ron Howard comedy, rated PG-13.
This idea that the independent counsel keeps bandying about jury nullification, we're not looking for jury nullification. What we're looking for is a jury to decide this on what we believe to be the law.
The Office of the Independent Counsel is trying Susan McDougal for criminal contempt and obstruction of justice. McDougal and her defense team have accused Ken Starr of having a vendetta, a charge echoed by her family. Joining us from Little Rock is Bill Henley, Susan McDougal's brother. Bill, earlier today, your sister was absent from the courtroom. How come?
Well, Greta, she's got a cold. She wasn't feeling well, and but she came at the time she was needed.
Well, how's she doing now? This is essentially the first main day of trial. How's she doing?
I think she's doing very well. She's very happy to see a lot of her family here, and she's glad to get this thing underway and get the final step in this long journey at least underway here.
Is she scared?
You know, I don't know how anyone couldn't be afraid of someone who would go to any depth and any means to make sure that you spend more time in jail. And so the answer to that, I think, is she probably is a little fearful. She's been here before, and it didn't turn out well.
Bill, we expect that the prosecution will consist mainly of the court reporter saying, here's the questions that were asked to your sister. She refused. They asked her to testify. She refused to answer. Here's the subpoena that she was given. She refused to comply with it. End of case. Now you have to present a case that says, that's right, we didn't do all those things, but still I'm not guilty. How do you expect to do that?
Well, I think the premise of every law, every criminal filing on an American citizen is totally dependent upon the integrity of the prosecutor. And that's the reason we have a jury program in this country and in our Constitution. It's up to this jury to figure out if Susan McDougal really believed that she was being asked to lie. She had an obligation not to go into that grand jury and lie, not to make a deal to save herself. And that's what this independent counsel asked her to do.
All right, but why is it then that she just didn't go in and say, I'm just going to go in and tell the truth, and if he wants to indict me for perjury, let him go prove it? I mean, why are you any different than you are right now if you do that?
Well, you have look at Julie Hyatt Steele, and I understand that what you're asking me is why didn't Susan just go in and tell the truth and get indicted for perjury? Is that what you want to know?
Well, yeah, I'm just saying that you're no different than you are right now under these circumstances.
Let me tell you, I think she's made a statement to the world that this is not a just investigation. I think she's made that statement throughout the world, and everyone, at least a large majority that contact us, believe that she's done the right thing by not cooperating with an unjust investigation.
You know, Bill, when you talk about Susan that way, you know, we've seen Susan sort of bold, drawing the line in the sand with Ken Starr and refusing to testify, yet you tell me she's scared. I mean, that seems such an unusual contrast. You know, she's bold on the one hand and willing to stand up to Ken Starr on the other hand, she's scared. What are your thoughts about that contrast?
I think that's just absolutely normal. It's not that she's not going to finish this, Greta. We've got 8 months of solitary confinement that they put her through. They've got 18 months of dragging her from one jail to the next with chains. They've got harassment for going on 5 years to not just Susan, but her entire family. I promise you there's nothing on this planet that would make Susan McDougal cooperate with this investigation after what they've done to her throughout these years.
You know, you use the word they. Has Susan ever had a direct contact with Ken Starr?
Only by talking about him on the television and understanding that he was the one behind all of the deals and all of the people that contacted her and offered her global immunity if she would just give them something on the president. And that's what happened early on in this investigation.
Bill, are you concerned that Susan McDougal, your sister, will get up and testify and begin to testify and say, listen, I didn't testify because he wanted me to lie, and the judge will not allow that kind of evidence to be admitted?
No, I think the judge has already said to us in no uncertain terms that if that's her defense, and she has a right to put it on. So this judge is going to allow us to bring other witnesses who got ran over in Arkansas. Susan's not the only one. We're talking about numerous people who got their lives threatened, got their spouses threatened. We're talking about people that in Little Rock, Arkansas, that we're going to put on this stand. Susan wasn't the only one that got run over.
Who is it that Susan actually dealt with in the Office of Independent Counsel? If it wasn't Ken Starr directly, who are the prosecutors she dealt with?
Well, she's dealt with several all along the way, but the main ones were the Yawns.
The who?
The Yawns.
The Yawns.
Those are from Texas?
That's a duo, yeah, I believe they're from Austin.
Okay. And what were they the ones that threatened her if she didn't testify the way that they wanted her to testify?
They offered her global immunity if she would bring them something on the President of the United States.
All right, and do you have witnesses to that statement?
We have her attorney who was in the room and another private witness.
Do you expect to call her previous attorney?
We intend to call everyone and anyone that has something to do with why Susan McDougal refused to talk to this independent counsel.
And he is going to testify that, in fact, the Yawns said, we'll give you global immunity if you'll give us something on the President?
Bobby McDaniel has gotten on television and stated that.
Bill, who else is the defense going to call besides Bobby McDaniel? Anyone else? And Susan?
I don't want to, I'm not going to be the one to share that information. If Mark Garrigus, our attorney, decides that that's what he wants to do, then I'll be more than happy to share it with you. But at this point, Mark he told the bare facts in his opening. He told why Susan was not going to cooperate. He did not release any of the information or any of our strategy because it can go a lot of different ways. This prosecutor is known for pulling out things such as this $5,000 check that he claims was new material, and he already had a microfiche copy of it. They're claiming that check is the reason they brought her back to this grand jury and brought her back here just for her to deny that she's not going to talk to them again or refuse to talk. And they charged her for contempt again. They really didn't have a reason to bring her back 2,000 miles from California and put her back in front of the same grand jury and get contempt on her again. They did it out of harassment. And they're claiming this one $5,000 check because they found the original after they had the microfiche copy for years was the reason. See, it's all about finding reasons why they did what they did, and they're going to have a hard time in this trial doing that.
All right, Bill, we're going to have to take a break. Up next, choosing a panel from the Little Rock jury pool. Stay with us.
People used to joke about how dumb I was, and now everybody's like, you better listen to him because he's pretty smart. I never used to think that anybody would call me smart.
At Sylvan Learning Center, success isn't just how well a student does, but how good a student feels.
I'm so excited
excited about school, and I keep on wanting to go. I never want to miss one day of school because I'm so excited about my grades that I just got a wrinkle.
Call Sylvan. Our personalized programs help 8 out of 10 students improve their math or reading skills by 1 full grade level in only 5 months.
My mom brought me the envelope, and it had the university seal on it, and I opened it, and the first word in the letter said congratulations, and I just started screaming, I made it in, I made it in.
Sylvan also offers personalized college prep programs. Choose from SAT, ACT prep, study skills, or advanced reading skills. To help your child succeed, call Sylvan Learning Center today at 1-800-EDUCATE. Success is learned.
I'm watching you, CNN.
In your current job, how often do you update sales forecasts?
Every minute.
You're serious?
Yeah, actually, salespeople enter their forecasts on the internet. Orders come in the same way.
Sales forecasts up to the minute?
Up to the minute around the world.
So, where do you get that kind of software?
Hire me, and then I'll tell you.
Oracle, the world's second largest software company, is the first with global sales forecasting applications on the internet.
But I wasn't gone long.
Your husband was right here?
I went to check the tickets.
Bingo.
What?
Have you checked the Chili Dog Express?
Oh, no. Hot dogs give Jack indigestion and heartburn.
Not this time.
What is it?
Looks like the remains of the minty fresh Pepsid AC chewable.
Chewable?
Now the first chewable that stops heartburn before it starts. Great tasting Pepsid AC chewables.
Jack?
Start living heartburn free with new Pepsid AC chewables.
1010-220 lets you call all over the world at amazing low rates. Dial 1010-220 and all calls within the U.S. and to Canada are only 99 cents for up to 20 minutes. Call most of Europe and it's only $1.99 for all calls up to 10 minutes and just 19 cents for each additional minute. Call Mexico and it's just $2.99 for all calls up to 10 minutes and only 34 cents for each minute after that. With 1010-220, you save all day, every day. Dial 1010-220 for great savings all over the world.
Is Jason there? I'll see.
Still looking.
The surprisingly new Land Rover. The biggest news from Land Rover in years. And voted Best Compact Sport Utility Vehicle by Automobile Magazine.
Attention! Please pardon this interruption, but we're presenting an offer from Nasonex. A coupon for a free 1-month trial. For information and a coupon for a free 1-month trial, call 1-800-320-8100. Talk to your doctor to find out whether Nasonex is right for you. The call and the offer are free, so call today. 1-800-320-8100.
In the third day of jury selection, a panel was chosen this morning to sit on the Little Rock trial of Susan McDougal. The 12-member jury is made up of 6 men and 6 women. Well, Bob Franken, you were there for that jury selection. Tell us about the jury.
Well, the jury, as a matter of fact, is quite a cross-section. There were some who had some opinions about independent counsel Ken Starr, most of them opinions to the effect that he was just doing his job. There are some people who showed some favorable views of Susan McDougal, feeling that she had a right to stand up for what she believed she should say and what she shouldn't say. Some of them, as a matter of fact, were surprises. One of the members of the jury, for instance, is somebody who says his religious beliefs oppose making judgments of people. But then he went on to say that they also say that you should follow the secular laws, so he will, in fact, follow that part of it. He was a military man, and that he would reluctantly serve on the jury. Frankly, many of us were surprised that he would end up there. There was quite a bit of strategizing that went on when the jurors were questioned during what they call voir dire jury questioning. As a matter of fact, this judge, George Howard, conducts the questioning in his chambers. What's remarkable about that is that the media are allowed to sit in, so we were in fact able to watch all the byplay, the defense attorneys in particular not giving the government lawyers any cause striking, by which I mean sometimes a juror will be taken off by mutual consent and you don't use up the peremptory challenges that you have as a result. There was an awful lot of chess playing going back and forth where the government in fact had to get rid of most of the the unfavorable jurors, the ones they didn't want, by using up their challenges. So now we have 12 jurors, 6 women, 6 men, and the alternates 3 and 3, and the trial has begun.
Andy, in every case, a prosecutor and a defense attorney has to connect with the jury. This is a high-profile case. The jurors go into this case with at least some knowledge about the Susan McDougal-Ken Starr war. As a prosecutor, how do you begin to connect with a jury?
Well, I always had one rule. If the juror smiled at the other guy or the other defense lawyer, the other woman, then he or she was off my jury, because there are so many conflicting variables in picking a jury that it comes down sometimes to a real just gut sense.
You know what, though? I was in the chambers when they did this voir dire, and there are a couple of young men who I thought would be good, quote, defense jurors, but they both said, in answer to questions from the prosecutor, they both said, look, Ken Starr is just doing his job. So it's almost a surprise. You never know what anyone's going to say.
Absolutely, and that's why I had my little rule. But it must have been impossible to pick a jury in Little Rock that had no opinion of Ken Starr one way or the other. And it sounds like what they wound up doing is just kind of balancing, a few who were sympathetic to Ms. McDougal, and a few who were sympathetic to Ken Starr. If I was the prosecutor, I was trying to figure out the profile for the juror that I would want here. I would want somebody who was very methodical, analytical, didn't ask a lot of questions, maybe a clerical worker type or an engineer type. But if I'm the defense, I want an artist. I want somebody who sees a lot of grays and colors.
A rule breaker is what I'd look for, but we need to take a break. Up next, what is next for Susan McDougal? Stay with us.
Tonight on CNN Newsstand, .com fever. Is the internet a sure bet for Wall Street? CNN and Fortune. Tonight, 10, 9 Central.
Your blood. Your sweat. Your tears. Sacrificing it all on the hardwood altar. Then, come back tomorrow and do it again.
At Bank of the West, we've been here in the West for 125 years. And while other banks have been busy building worldwide empires, we've been concentrating on helping people in the West build their homes, their businesses, and their families. Maybe that's why tens of thousands of people have moved to Bank of the West in the past few years. So if you've been looking for a good bank, we'd like you to know there's a good bank out there looking for you.
The road is stupid. The Bravada is smart. And you are brilliant. Because you leased Bravada with SmartTrack for just $3.39 a month. Once again, road stupid, Bravada smart, you brilliant. Bravada by Oldsmobile. Start something.
Don't miss the hit comedy Red, White, and Tuna, starring the original cast of 2.
Howdy. Howdy. Now, I just want to say a few words. Let's talk about ducks. Ah, come on in. Well, stare.
At a tour de force of comic acting.
Well, I'll be.
Coming March 30th through April 4th. For tickets, call 790-ARTS.
Moneyline News Hour with Lou Dobbs, weeknight 6:30 Eastern on CNN.
Ahead on Inside Politics, Elizabeth Dole's chances in the fight for the GOP presidential nomination. And her husband still pulling in big money for the GOP. Plus, our Bill Schneider on the changing